When you lose 1 unit of sale from Asian people, you will receive 10 units of sale from black people.
What the hell are you talking about?
What is up, Space Pirates? This is your Admiral, the ever-charming Dr. Disaster. And to say that the reception to the recently released Lost Soul Aside, published by PlayStation, to say that it has been a disappointment would be a massive understatement.
Oh, shit.
As of the time of this recording, the game has less than 1,000 players playing it, with a peak this weekend, its launch weekend, of about 3,000 concurrent players. One of the things that has been dogging this game has apparently been some pretty bad performance issues. A lot of games these days have been releasing as essentially unfinished turds, and gamers are fed up with this nonsense. At the moment, Lost Soul Aside is sitting with a review score of about 57% on Steam, which is low enough to give it a mixed rating.
That is what life is all about, disappointment and failure, so get used to it.
But one thing to note is that Lost Soul Aside was developed by Ulti Zero Games, a Chinese developer, and Chinese gamers have been pretty supportive of games made in their country in the past. Black Myth Wukong famously debuted last year as the first AAA game from China, and it had damn near 2.5 million players concurrently on Steam when it released. A month ago, Wu Chang Fallen Feathers came out, and it was nowhere near as successful as Black Myth, but as the second AAA game to come from China, they did hit 130,000 concurrent players at its peak on Steam, and that's pretty solid. So, it really makes you wonder about what went on with this reception to Lost Soul Aside.
What happened? Did your balls drop off?
Well, if reports are to be believed, it turns out that Sony is responsible for neutering this game. A controversy has broken out primarily in China, where Sony is accused of pushing political correctness into the game. Apparently, and it isn't completely clear where this came from, whether it was from Sony or just one developer, but someone was saying they needed to do things in this game, Lost Soul Aside, to make it appealing to black folks instead of Asian folks. And look, I'm not a fan of the Chinese government. They are tyrannical commies, but the Chinese people, the citizens themselves, I appreciate the fact that they have no time whatsoever for this identity politics bullshit in their society. That controversy was apparently a big deal over there, and when the Chinese heard about all this progressive shit, they said,
"So long, gay boy!"
Alright, me hearties, make sure that you hit the like button on this video, share it with your friends, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Also, I've started uploading content onto Rumble, so make sure to follow me over there. And don't forget to follow me over on X, where I keep a list of games lousy with wokeness pinned to my account at all times for your reference. My handle over there is Dr. Disaster 1. But anyhow, let's talk about Lost Soul Aside, a game that I was originally rooting for. The thing is, on the surface the game looks alright, but I've heard that there are a lot of really inexcusable errors in the game. As I said before, performance issues are a big problem in the industry right now. Apparently half the damn games that have come out in the past few months just can't figure out how to make Unreal Engine work for them without causing massive issues. Performance issues ruining gaming experiences is getting pretty damned old. But To top it off, I've heard that Lost Soul has a bunch of typos in it and things like that, which really tells us an awful lot about the lack of care and craftsmanship that was put into the game. There really is no excuse for something like that, especially coming from a publisher like PlayStation. This game clearly had a lot of money pushed into it, but they aren't going to make a whole lot back on it from the looks of things. According to VG Analytics, during its launch weekend here, Lost Soul has only sold about 31,000 units so far. Now, I grant you, this number only comes from Steam. They will of course have sold some number of copies on the PS5 as well, but even if that number is higher, I doubt it will have outflanked Steam by that much. And now, just for some added context, Wu Chang Fallen Feathers has sold 1.4 million units. Granted, that game has been out for a month now, but the bulk of a game's sales happened during the first few days of launch, so that gives you an idea as to just how abandoned Lost Soul Aside has been by the Chinese, who you would have thought would have carried this game to at least a respectable release. But let's read about why that did not happen in this article from Twisted Voxel. It says here, development troubles and internal drama surrounding Sony Interactive Entertainment and Ulti-Zero Games' action role-playing game Lost Soul Aside have allegedly hurt the game's reputation in China ahead of its release. After nearly a decade in development, Lost Soul Aside was released on August 29th, and the game's reputation within its home country of China has been overshadowed by controversy stemming from both development challenges and damaging internal drama. The controversy arose earlier this year when leaked private chat logs from a former developer began to spread online. These logs contained troubling comments that quickly went viral in Chinese gaming circles. In one exchange, the former developer boasted this project can only be completed thanks to Yang Bing, the Lost Soul Aside director/producer, and me, dismissing the contributions of others. Far more serious was the use of a slur and the claim that when you lose 1 unit of sale from Asian people, you will receive 10 units of sale from black people. Now, I don't know about you guys, but for me, the math on that is not mathing. I'm not interested in pitting one ethnic group against another, but apparently someone involved with the making of this game does want to do that. So I will say this. I know that there are a shit ton of black gamers out there, but I seriously doubt that they outnumber Asian gamers. The Japanese, the Chinese, the Koreans, these countries are known for being fanatical gamers. So this mentality that developers have to kowtow to black gamers does not make sense. They sure as hell do not outnumber Asian gamers 10 to 1. In fact, I'd be willing to bet those numbers are inverted. But why in the hell is somebody who worked on this game talking like this in the first place, and essentially pitting two ethnic groups against each other as if they can't like the same thing? That doesn't make any damn sense to me. Well, that next sentence in this article gives us a hint as to why this happened. It says, another message accused Sony of forcing political correctness during a studio visit. The thing is, this is a company that has been infiltrated by Western woke sensibilities to the point that they actually believe that the modern audience, those sophisticated, progressive people who whine constantly about diversity and representation. But anyways, Sony believes that that is their actual audience. They have spent far too much time listening to their HR departments and not enough time listening to the people who actually buy video games. But then the article finishes up saying, the authenticity of these leaks was not disputed by Lost Soul Aside director/producer Yang Bing, who promptly issued a public apology. He admitted his own failings in leadership, acknowledged that the remarks had caused harm, and stressed that the employee in question had already been dismissed last year. The incident undoubtedly reinforced skepticism about the project's troubled production among Chinese fans. Despite Bing's apology, the goodwill that once surrounded Lost Soul aside doesn't seem to have fully recovered in its home market. So yeah, this really explains why Lost Soul has not done well, and it really illustrates just how embracing woke identity shit can ruin a game. That crap sours people on a product, sucking all the fun out of it immediately. But on top of that, this also seems to tell us about where Sony is at. They simply refuse to change course, no matter how gamers insist that this sort of mentality is not what we want in the gaming world. But I'm gonna leave it there. Drop your scorn for Sony and this game into the comment section below, and we will talk there. Thanks for watching, me hearties. If you haven't already, your Admiral is inviting you to subscribe to the channel and become a part of the crew. Life as a space pirate may not be glamorous, but there's always plenty of booty.